So you might have this love-hate relationship with social media. You think social media platforms are these amazing vehicles that are free and everyone can post content. And differently from how it worked a few years ago, where only huge corporate businesses could reach these huge audiences, now that is reachable for pretty much anyone in the planet. With just a phone, you can start creating content and you can run a successful project, communicate something, or really scale your business. And social media platforms are beautiful for that. And you might also feel that social media platforms, bring out the worst from humanity. They bring this hamster wheel, this algorithm that is specifically designed for you to keep you engaged and keep watching content, keep scrolling, constant comparison, pushing for more, and this egotistical way of creating a main character of everyone's life, always pushing for more views and more likes. And if that's the case, I feel you, because I'm right here navigating that love-hate relationship with social media. And I wanted to share some of the thoughts that I had all this past week that I think have really helped me get in the right mindset on how to actually use and navigate social media. So I've been pretty much consuming YouTube mainly for the past couple or 3 months. I've been pretty much not even logging into Instagram. Now, what I love about YouTube is I tend to listen to a lot of podcasts and watch long format videos. So it's not like I'm just doom scrolling. I keep it more as a growth kind of tool. But after a couple or 3 months of not really logging into Instagram, I just log for a few days whenever I gotta do the content strategy for my clients. But there I was. I was supposed to look for some references, and I realized that I found myself feeling this low mood and low energy, comparing myself to these other creative people and other content creators out there. And there it got me. I was hooked by the algorithm. I was hooked by the thing that I hate the most about social media, which is how these algorithms were specifically engineered to get us all hooked and just become consumers. And somehow this clicked. I realized that all I was doing right there was consuming. I was doing nothing. I was creating no value. I was just passively consuming those platforms, all that content, making myself feel even more miserable the more I compared, the more content I watched, the more I scrolled, and the more I felt like, I'm not that creative, I'm not that successful, I'm not putting enough effort in. And so this is what I also want you to think of. I want you to ask yourself, are you a creator or are you a consumer? Think of it as a football team. You're this player, right? Every match you play, you are sitting on the bench at the side of the pitch, but you're sitting there and you're like, man, I would like to be on the pitch, playing with them, but the coach is not really putting me on. And so the obvious thing that you'd have to do is work really, really hard on the training sessions, right? If you wanted the coach to put you in mid-match, you want to push on the training sessions. You want to show that you got what it takes, that you're working hard, and that you're willing to be in there with the team to actually win and get some victories out there. And a lot of that battle is mental. It's not that physical. It's not that talent. It's actually mental battle of taking every training session seriously. So at some point, when the right time comes, you'll actually be playing on the pitch. Or instead, you can just decide not to take those training sessions seriously, not put the work that you're supposed to put in. And, you can keep the rest of the season sitting right there on the side, benched, and watch your teammates do the thing and watch them play. And you can just sit around there and do nothing. And this is what I'd like you to stick with. It comes down to, do you want to be a consumer who just passively consumes whatever we're taking, getting entertained all day, not really have a purpose, just watch all those things go by and just spend so much time and energy, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours a day scrolling through reels and content and get nothing done? Or do you want to be more of a creator? Get some sovereignty and agency, actually get some purpose, get clarity, and focus all that time and energy into creating, into thinking and doing content that is supposed to do something And you might not know what you want to create yet. You might not know your voice. You might not have found it yet. But again, it's through those training sessions, the effort you're putting in, that you'll actually find it eventually. You will not be ready, of course, to play, a huge important match first day with no training sessions. But who else is, But what you can do is actually train really hard on those training sessions. And eventually, someday, the coach might put you in. You might even score a goal or at least get a couple assists. But you'll never know if you don't get into the training sessions and give everything you got. And instead, you just, stand or sit down on the bench at the side of the pitch and keep watching everyone else. And this is a perfect analogy that I got. And this really helped me think of social media in this radically different way. I want to stop being this passive consumer of reels and content. I want to start creating, because this is what we're meant to do. When we have this project or this goal, this business, this idea, what do you want to do? I really want to start creating. I want to share those things, and I want to stop consuming and being in this hamster wheel and being trapped in this hamster wheel that the algorithm is. I want to actually start creating. You see, I used to think that to start putting content out and start creating, I really needed to dial in my brand values, the brand guidelines, the core positioning, and the content pillars, and all these sorts of things that would enable me to start producing content. But in reality, usually what it happened to me every time I did it is that I would burn out. I would build all those things and never start creating. And I can see this happening to other people in the industry, always planning and keeping that motion into thinking they're doing something productive because they're thinking of content and they're thinking of this and creating those brand guidelines and that color palette and everything. But what it is that you're shipping, what are you getting done? Before I thought about this, I used to think that you needed to get all those things ready before you started creating content, so you would stay consistent and cohesive. But now I think just do it. Even if you're unprepared, even if you don't even know what you're going to be posting about, even if you don't have that clarity or uncertainty, if you're actually doing nothing, if you're not posting, I think you need to get yourself going. You need to post something, and you don't need to wait to know what content pillars you'll have, and you don't need to wait about a perfect script structure. You just need to do something that is going to get you going, that you enjoy doing, something that gets you excited about actually creating it, right? And you'll be uncomfortable the first repetition to do this. You see, I think of this for a lot of founders who these days want to start their personal brand and they don't know how to get started, right? They feel uncomfortable because they have all these expertise, but they've not really leaned into creating content. And now they feel, wow, there's these old 24-year-old people who are online building businesses and they're making 3 times more money than I am, but they have 5 times less experience than I have. And how are them doing better than I do? And you're just invisible, and you need to start creating content, and you need to share with the world your vision, your view, your values, and all those things. But you can't stay to be ready. You have to do it now. And I get it. You might feel uncomfortable appearing in front of the camera, as I am myself. You might be uncertain about how well you'll express yourself on LinkedIn, writing some text. At some point, we all have to start. But the longer you delay starting these things, the longer you will catch up as well. And I think it's through the exercise of constantly being there. Eventually, you'll find your voice. So what I would suggest doing is doing these things that I call content mining sessions, where you don't have to think of ideas of what to post or what not to post. You create ideas and connections all day as you talk with people, as you have conversations, as you read. And so you want to extract what's going on in your mind all day. You want to ask yourself 5 questions, and you want to speak, maybe recording yourself with a camera or recording a voice memo on your phone. The questions can be whatever you like, but I will recommend 5 questions I ask myself every single week. So first one is, what's the one thing from this week that you can't stop thinking about? And why does it actually matter? Now, second question is, what did you learn or realize this week that changed how you see something you thought you understood? And this transformation is going to make for really good content. Now, third question is, if you broke down something you did, observed, or learned this week into a numbered list, what would that be? This could be your morning routine or the exact step-by-step system that you use whenever you start working with a new project or a new client. Fourth question is, what do most people in your space get wrong? And what's the real truth they're actually missing? This is what actually gets your spiky point of view. This is a contrarian statement. And fifth question is, what would you tell yourself 6 months ago, knowing what you know right now? It's going to get you content, but it's also going to help you get some improvements, And now, as I told you, you can just turn on your voice memos, go for a little walk, or you can just sit down with a camera and get that video going. And then you just need to chop all the ums and and all those thinking things. And you're actually putting yourself out there as you're also getting content for your audience and discovering what people actually resonate and vibe with. Now, once you start creating and putting out your content, I want you to not really pay attention to vanity metrics. By that, I mean views and likes, pretty much. You see, I see most people in this industry focusing on these wrong numbers instead of focusing on the exercise of, am I building trust? Is the person that I'm speaking to gonna trust me if I do this? This is why I think it's far more important to get the repetitions in. Over time, you'll improve the quality of the content. Over time, you'll improve how you speak in front of the camera, how you communicate yourself, how you write posts, how you articulate your ideas. You want to pay more attention on that. You want to pay attention on how better is this post related to the previous one I did? How better are the ideas communicated in this video compared to the previous one I did? So instead of focusing on the number of views and likes, why don't you focus on showing up consistently every single week and just creating the content, recording yourself, recording those content mining sessions, and shipping content out there? I was in this exact position myself 6 months ago, and funny enough, this is what I would tell myself. Be hard on yourself on the right things. I think so many people are so soft with themselves on the wrong things. We're hard on ourselves on, I should be getting more views. I should be making more money. I should be having more success. So I have to work harder and harder and harder. Instead of, forget about this, why don't you work harder and demand more of yourself of, wake up at the time you said you would wake up. Commit to recording yourself as you said you would instead of skipping it this week. Man, just go and do it. And go and do the hard thing you're avoiding because it's hard. Just commit to doing it. So it doesn't matter if you're uncertain, doesn't matter if you're scared and fear whatever is going to happen. Just commit to doing it for 6 months. Do it happy, do it sad, do it fearful. Just go and commit to doing it. I'll see you in the next one.